All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going deep on something I know a lot of you are really curious about,
Yeah.
back pain. We're going to be cracking open Back Mechanic by Professor Stuart McGill.
Excellent book.
Yeah, have you read this one?
Oh, yeah. Cover to cover. It's fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
And we're really hoping that this deep dive will kind of give you the tools to understand and manage your own back pain.
Absolutely.
But of course, this isn't medical advice.
Well, of course not. No, this is for informational purposes only.
Please talk to your doctor.
Please do.
But we really do want you to feel empowered to advocate for yourself.
I think knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And I think when you understand your body better, you're going to be able to have a much more productive conversation with your doctor or any healthcare provider.
Totally. Okay, so Professor McGill starts off, and he kind of jumps right in, and he starts busting myths about back pain.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
And it's so interesting because it's like these things that we hear all the time, and we just assume they're true.
They're pervasive, and people just kind of take them on as,
Dogma.
Yeah, dogma. That's a good word for it.
So one of the first ones he tackles is this whole idea that back pain is all in your head.
Yeah, that's a really damaging myth.
It is.
People will think that they're imagining their pain
Yeah.
or that it's not real.
Right.
But the truth is, pain always starts with a physical cause.
Okay.
Now, emotions and stress, they can definitely dial the pain up or down, but there's always a real physical reason behind it.
Okay. So it's not that people are imagining it. It's that
No.
maybe their experience of it is heightened because of other things going on.
Simply.
But there's something actually happening.
Exactly. It's like if you stub your toe, it hurts whether you're stressed or not.
Right.
But if you're already stressed, you might scream louder.
Yes.
Right?
That's a really good way to put it.
So there's always that physical cause, and this is where understanding the mechanics of your back comes in.
Okay.
Because those mechanics play a huge role in how you experience pain.
So then what about this idea that back pain is just inevitable as we age?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, my aching back.
Yeah. No.
I'm just getting old.
I'm turning into my Karens.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, another myth bites the dust.
Really?
While our spines do change as we age, most people find that their back pain peaks actually in their 30s and 40s.
Oh, wow.
And then often decreases with age.
Wait, so it gets better as you get older?
It can. For many people, it does.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, tell me more about this because this is fascinating.
It all comes down to how our bodies adapt, right? So Professor McGill, he describes it as nature kind of gristling the joints in our backs as we get older.
Okay.
And this gristling, it actually reduces those tiny painful movements that can cause so much trouble.
So it's like your body's like, okay, we're done with these super fine movements.
Right.
We're just going to fuse some stuff together so you can't do that anymore.
Exactly. And it's amazing how the body adapts, right?
Yeah, that is so wild. Okay, so I've been telling myself the wrong thing my whole life.
You and me both.
Like, no, it's going to get better.
Exactly.
Okay, what about things like herniated discs?
Yeah.
Because that sounds really scary.
It does sound scary.
Like that's a career ender.
Right.
Especially for athletes.
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
But not necessarily Professor McGill. He tells this incredible story about an Olympic weightlifter who actually set world records after suffering a back injury.
No way, after a back injury.
After a back injury.
So how is that even possible?
Right.
That just seems impossible.
Well, the injury, it forced him to really look at how he was moving.
Okay.
And he completely overhauled his technique to protect his back.
So he had to relearn how to move
Absolutely.
his body.
And this is something that Professor McGill talks about a lot, that sometimes these injuries can be a blessing in disguise.
Wow.
Because they force us to move better, to really think about our mechanics.
That's so interesting.
And he was very adamant that he could never train with flawed or compromised form again because of his back injury.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay, so I'm really starting to see how important this whole movement piece is.
Absolutely.
But what about all the technology we have now?
Yeah.
Like we have MRIs, we have CT scans. Can't those things just tell us what's wrong with our back?
You would think so, right? It seems like we should have this all figured out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not always that simple.
Really?
So while MRIs and CT scans are great for seeing the structures of your back,
Okay.
they don't always tell the whole story about what's causing your pain.
Okay, so it's like taking a picture of a car engine.
Exactly.
You might see that something's loose,
Right.
but you don't know if that's what's causing the problem.
Exactly. You don't know the why behind it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the pain you're feeling might be coming from something that looks totally normal on a scan.
Wow.
Or something that looks really scary on the scan, might not actually be the culprit at all.
So how do you even know then?
That's where a good understanding of your pain patterns,
Okay.
how your body reacts to certain movements, and a really skilled clinician comes in.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can't just rely on the technology. You have to, like, use your own
Exactly.
brain and body, too.
Your body's giving you information all the time.
Okay.
You just have to learn how to interpret it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about, then, this idea of rest is best.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's something that people hear a lot, like, oh, you hurt your back.
Yeah, just lay down
You need to stay in bed.
for like a week.
Yes.
Don't move.
So is that good advice? Should we be hitting the hay every time our back hurts?
Well, here's where things get really interesting and counterintuitive.
Okay.
While a little rest can be helpful in the short term,
Okay.
too much bed rest can actually make back pain worse.
What really? But why is that? Because I feel like intuitively you think, oh, if my back hurts if I just lie down,
Yeah, take the pressure off.
it'll get better.
It seems logical. But our spines are designed to move.
Okay.
And when we stay in bed for too long, those discs, those little cushions between our vertebrae,
Yeah.
they're like little sponges.
Okay.
And they need movement to absorb fluids and nutrients.
So they need to, like, be squished and released
Exactly.
so that they can...
It's like wringing out a sponge and then letting it soak up more.
Okay.
Right? So if you stay in bed too long, those discs become stiff and dehydrated.
And then that's when you get in trouble.
Exactly.
Wow. So it's actually better to move around?
Within reason.
Okay.
Within reason.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Okay, this is blowing my mind.
No, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I'm realizing how much I don't know.
You and me both. It's a constant journey of learning.
So we've busted some myths.
Right.
We started to kind of scratch the surface here of back mechanics.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? So less bed rest, more movement. I'm getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I know what kind of movement is actually good for my back? It seems like everyone and their mother has an opinion on, like,
I know, right?
should I stretch? Should I do yoga?
Pilates.
Pilates, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
It can be a real maze out there.
Yeah. So where do we even begin?
Well, before we jump into any specific exercises,
Okay.
Professor McGill wants us to start with a good understanding of our back's anatomy.
Okay, so, like, what's actually going on back there?
Exactly, because if you understand the structures involved, it's going to make a lot more sense when we talk about how to move better.
That makes sense. Okay.
So let's get up close and personal with those vertebrae,
Okay.
the bones of your spine,
Okay.
the discs, which act like little shock absorbers between them,
Okay.
and of course the muscles that control all the movement.
Okay, so it's more than just bones back there.
Oh yeah, much more.
It's like a whole system
It's a beautifully complex system.
that works together.
Yeah.
So how does it all work together, and what happens when we move?
Okay, so imagine your spine as this intricate, flexible structure. It's almost like a chain of finely tuned gears
Okay.
designed to move in very specific ways.
Okay.
Now, every time you bend your spine, especially with weight, you're putting stress on those discs, those little cushions we talked about.
Yeah.
And doing that repeatedly,
Uh-oh.
that's when things can start to go wrong.
So that's why my back hates it when I try to touch my toes. And I'm like, why does it feel...
And you're bending from your back.
Yeah, and I'm like rounding my back.
Right.
Like, why does it hurt so much?
Exactly. Your hips are meant for bending,
Okay.
not your spine.
So when I bend down to pick something up,
Yes.
instead of, like, rounding my back like a really sad emoji,
Right?
I need to, like, hinge at the hips, keep my back straight.
Yes, like a graceful swan.
Like a graceful swan.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
There you go.
Okay, and so then...
And here's another thing to keep in mind.
Okay.
When it comes to lifting muscle, stiffness is your best friend.
Hold on, stiffness.
Right?
I thought we were all about flexibility.
I know, right? We've been told that our whole lives, haven't we?
Yeah, like, gotta be flexible, gotta be bendy.
Yeah, flexibility definitely has its place.
Okay.
But when we're talking about protecting your back, especially during lifting, stiffness is key.
Okay, why is that?
So think of it this way. Professor McGill, he uses this great analogy
Okay.
of a stack of oranges.
Okay, I like oranges.
Right. So if you have a stack of oranges
Yep.
and there's no stiffness,
Yeah. What happens?
they just fall all over the place.
They crumble, right?
Yeah.
Your core muscles act like internal bracing,
Oh, good.
keeping your spine stable and preventing injury.
So that's what those are for. It's like my internal orange protector.
Exactly. They're like the unsung heroes of a healthy back.
Wow. Okay, so then all those crunches I've been doing, are those good or bad?
The classic crunch.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, the way most people do them,
Yeah.
where they're basically just repeatedly flexing their spine.
Can actually put a lot of unnecessary stress on those discs.
Oh no, I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
So Professor McGill, he suggests switching to modified core exercises
Okay.
that minimize spinal movement and really focused on building stability.
Okay, so it's not just about doing any core exercise, it's about doing the right kind.
Exactly. The ones that actually support and protect your back.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to engage our core. We need to learn how to move properly.
Yes.
So where do we go from here?
Well, the next step is super important,
Okay.
and that's self-assessment.
So like figuring out what's going on.
Exactly. Professor McGill, he provides this really helpful framework
Okay.
for figuring out your personal pain triggers.
Oh, interesting.
And this is key for creating a recovery plan that's actually effective for you.
So it's not one size fits all.
Not at all. Everyone's back is different.
So I need to like channel my inner Sherlock Holmes
Exactly.
and be a back pain detective.
I love that.
Okay, where do I begin?
Okay. It all starts with understanding your pain history.
Okay.
When did the pain start?
Okay.
What makes it better? What makes it worse? Are there any activities that consistently trigger it?
Okay.
Right?
All right, so really thinking about it.
Exactly. And then we move on to what Professor McGill calls pain provocation tests.
Ooh. That sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, it sounds a little scary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But basically what these tests involve is carefully trying different movements and postures
Okay.
to pinpoint exactly what triggers your pain.
So like if I do this and it hurts,
Exactly.
then I know not to do that.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like a process of elimination.
Precisely.
Okay.
I like it.
Narrowing down the culprits.
Okay, and once you've identified those triggers,
Right.
then what?
Then we can start talking about building a more resilient back.
Okay, because that's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
We don't want to just be avoiding pain all the time.
Exactly. We want to get stronger.
We want to be able to live our lives.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, this is where the big three come in. The big three.
The big three.
Like a superhero team for my back.
Kind of they are.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so Professor McGill's big three are 3 specific exercises
Okay.
designed to improve core stability and reduce back pain.
Okay. Less pain, more stability. I'm liking it.
Right.
Okay, so what are these magical exercises?
All right, are you ready for this?
Yes, tell me everything.
Okay, so we have a modified curl up.
Okay, modified curl up, so not a regular crunch.
Got your average crunch.
Okay.
We have the side bridge,
Okay,
and we have the bird dog.
the bird dog.
Oh,
Okay, I kind of visualize what that one might look like.
You probably do.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the specifics of those in a bit.
Okay.
The best part about these exercises,
Yeah.
you can do them at home
Okay, I like that.
without any fancy equipment.
Home workout, my favorite.
Right.
So what makes these exercises so special? Why these 3?
It's all about how you do them.
Okay.
Professor McGill, he stresses the importance of proper form.
Okay, so it's not just about like doing them fast or like a million of them.
No, it's not a race.
Okay.
It's about quality over quantity.
So slow and steady wins the race
Exactly.
when it comes to the big 3.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, so we're moving properly. We're doing our big 3. What else can we do to like help our backs out?
Well, speaking of slow and steady,
Okay.
there's another powerful tool for back health
Okay.
that we often overlook.
What is that?
Walking.
Walking.
Seriously.
I know it sounds almost too simple.
Yeah, I was like, come on, is that it?
I know, right?
Okay.
But trust me on this one.
Okay.
Walking is like nature's back balm.
Okay, so it's like medicine, but for my back.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
It's so good for nourishing those discs,
Okay.
strengthening those back muscles,
Yeah.
and improving your overall posture.
Okay, so like, should I be ditching the treadmill and hitting the pavement?
Well, both have their benefits.
Oh.
But walking outdoors, especially on uneven terrain,
Okay.
it challenges your balance and coordination.
In a way that a treadmill just can't replicate.
Yeah, because if I fall off the treadmill, then I really know I've messed up.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. So like a little bit more of a challenge.
Right.
Okay, so how much walking are we talking here?
So Professor McGill suggests starting with short, frequent walks
Okay.
and gradually increasing the duration as your back gets stronger.
Okay, so I don't have to go out and run a marathon tomorrow.
No.
Okay.
Start small.
Okay.
Listen to your body.
Okay.
And gradually increase the intensity.
Okay, that makes sense.
And he's also a big fan of what he calls micro breaks during those walks.
Micro breaks, what are those?
They're exactly what they sound like.
Okay.
Brief pauses that you take during your walk.
Okay.
Just to reset your posture and make sure you're not slipping back into those pain-triggering habits.
So, like, if I'm walking and I realize, oh, no, I'm doing that rounding thing again.
Exactly.
Just, like, take a second and be like,
That's it.
reset.
Yeah.
Okay, I could do that.
It's all about awareness.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
It's not about being perfect all the time. It's about, like, noticing and being like, okay, I can adjust.
Exactly right.
Okay, this is starting to make a lot of sense.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, feels very manageable,
Excellent.
which I appreciate because I think sometimes when we think about, like, oh my gosh, I have back pain, I'm going to have this forever.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can.
Right.
But this is like, okay, I can do this.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our big 3 exercises. We're walking like champions. We're taking micro breaks.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have to ask, is this it?
What do you mean?
Like, with all this focus on avoiding pain and moving carefully,
Right.
am I destined to a life of limitations?
That's a great question, and I think it's something that a lot of people worry about.
Right, like, am I going to hurt myself if I bend over to tie my shoes?
No, not at all. It's
Wow.
not about that. It's more like you're building a strong foundation for a more active and fulfilling life. You're not limiting yourself. You're just learning to work with your spine's unique design.
So it's not about restriction. It's like building a base.
Exactly.
So then you can do more.
It's like you wouldn't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation.
Right.
You need that solid base, and then you can gradually add more floors as you get stronger.
Oh, okay. I like that analogy. So
Awesome.
no skyscraper aspirations before I've mastered the sturdy bungalow.
Exactly.
Okay, this is actually really empowering
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
because I feel like I'm starting to realize that I can actually take control of this.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't have to control me.
That's the spirit, and that's what's so great about Professor McGill's approach.
Yeah.
He doesn't just tell you what to do. He gives you the tools to understand your own pain.
And then make a plan that works for you.
Exactly, a personalized plan.
Okay, I like it. So, like, we're wrapping up here. What are some of the key takeaways that you really want our listeners to walk away with today?
So one thing that I always think about when it comes to my back is this idea of a load budget.
A load budget. Tell me more.
Okay, so think of it like this. Your spine has a certain capacity for stress each day.
Okay.
Every time you bend, twist, or lift, you're spending from that budget.
Okay.
So the key is to learn how to spend it wisely.
Okay, so, like, don't go do a marathon gardening session.
Exactly. Break it up. Break it up. Move around.
Be mindful.
Exactly. Mindful movement today equals a more pain-free tomorrow.
Ooh, I like that. All right, so we're going to be mindful of our load budget. We're going to do our big 3. We're going to go on some walks. What else?
And remember, movement is medicine.
Ooh.
But you have to know how to administer the right dose.
Okay, that's a really good point.
Right.
So it's not just about, like, oh, I moved today, I'm good.
Right. It's about moving well.
Moving well.
Moving with intention.
This has been so eye-opening.
I'm glad to hear that.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm really excited to keep learning more about this because I think it's one of those things that, like, we all kind of just accept that we're going to have back pain.
Right. We just assume it's part of life.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't. And that's the message that I really want to leave people with.
Yeah. That there's hope.
There's hope, absolutely.
Okay, so if you are ready to say goodbye to back pain and hello to a stronger, more resilient you,
Please check out Backmechanic.
yes, go read the book. It is so good.
It's fascinating.
So interesting. And
Yeah.
it's one of those books that you're going to want to, like, mark up and highlight and, like, really dig into.
It's a great resource to have.
Yeah, and you might even want to read it a couple times because there's so much good information.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for this deep dive into back mechanic.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, everyone, happy moving.
Happy moving.